Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Crunching Your Growth. And today we're cutting straight through the noise of business finance with a guest who helps founders actually understand the numbers that drive scale. He's the founder of Insight Matters, where he works as a fractional CFO and and financial coach, helping entrepreneurs turn messy spreadsheets into clear, actionable growth strategies. So, welcome to the show, Rob, to Braake.
To Braake, which is impossible for non-Dutch speakers.
To Braake?
Yes, perfect.
All right, perfect. So, why don't you give us a little bit of background on who you are, what you've done, and how you help people, and let's take it from there.
Yeah, so I'm originally from the Netherlands, grew up there, but studied finance, started my career in banking, and after a year in banking, I got sent to a project in China. And after 6 months in that project, the bank told me to go back home, and I did what every sane person would do. I quit my job and became an entrepreneur so I could stay in China. Spent 7-8 years there building a local business there, and then moved out of that company and started Insight Matters. Initially, I left the other business and I worked as a fractional CFO for a friend of mine who ran a software business in China. And that kind of got out of hand. You know how it goes. You add a second client, you get referred to a third one. And now a couple of years later, I have a team of 25 spread out over 13 countries. So that got a little bit out of hand.
Yeah. What were you doing in China?
So initially for the bank, and later on I ran a technology and investment firm. So together with a partner, we would raise money from Chinese investors and from European investors, and we would buy the IP from European clean tech companies. So if there's like environmental technologies from a small company in Europe, we would buy the rights for that technology and build a company with that in China. Great idea. I still love the thesis. In hindsight, the execution was horrible.
Oh, the execution on your part?
Yes. So we try to do that in a very bootstrapped way, very lean, trying to be very agile and then sell into big Chinese corporates and state-owned companies. And it took me a couple of years to realize that, again, the technology was good, but we just didn't understand how to sell, and we didn't have the resources to sell into massive, massive Chinese state-owned corporates. They didn't care about environment or profit or cost savings. They cared about political situation, their positioning in the company. And we just were too small to play that game.
Yeah, it's a different environment there. I never worked over there, never did any work over there, but I've visited a number of times, and I have some friends who have been over there and built businesses, and it's just a completely different sort of environment in how things get done because, you know, it's number one, it's communist, but number two, it's sort of regional communist leaders, regional communist leadership, and it's a big country. Yeah,
Yes.
it's massive.
Yeah. And I wouldn't even call it communist, more state-controlled capitalist.
It's a good way of putting it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a really, really fun experience. I've seen every corner of China, the good, the bad, and the ugly. But after 8 years, it was time for me to go. So when I set up Insight Matters, I had the choice. Either I make it a local business and we're going to work with foreign-owned firms in China, or, and that's what I opted for, is, you know what, we're going to work remote. I don't care where the clients are. We're going to do everything remote because that would give me the flexibility to, at some point, move out of China, which I did 1 or 2 years later.
That makes sense. It's a beautiful country. It's pretty. Beijing's a little rough, right? That's where you were, right?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
loved it.
that's a little, huh?
I absolutely loved my time there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great country. I mean, we spent some time there and all over the place, and it's fantastic. It's different, right? It's different than what we experience in other parts of the world. So Um, but yeah, so what does Insight Matters actually do?
So the short summary is we provide fractional CFO, FP&A, and management accounting for online businesses that want to get more from their numbers. That's like the tagline. But essentially what it means is we try to get the accounting data and make it actual useful for the owners. So too many owners typically see the numbers as, okay, I want to know my revenue, and at the end of the year, I need to file my taxes, and that's it. While the way we look at it is, no, you as the owner need to look at it at the very least on a monthly basis, and actually make decisions based off it. You need to see which profits or which products or which services are making money, where you're not, where your team is utilized or where it's not. Um, Typically, if owners would look at revenue as one line and then cost of sales as one line, there's so much information hiding behind it that, especially if you get well into the seven figures, you need to have that visible. And so we help them get that visible and interpret that, and then hopefully make better decisions.
Gotcha. Um, yeah, I think it's important. I mean, what size companies do you go after? Like what size e-com company?
Typically, typically it's seven figures. So if it's service businesses, it's mid seven figures. If it's e-commerce, high seven or low eight. That's like our sweet spot. If it's much smaller than that, typically they are, or hopefully they are quite simple. I mean, you shouldn't add a lot of complexity if you're in the six-figure range. And if you go an agency over, let's say 20 million, we can still work with you, but you probably want to have things in-house because there is enough complexity and enough workload that it just makes sense to have it in-house. So it's that sweet spot where you do have the need for insights, but you don't need it full time. You don't want to pay for full time.
I gotcha. So, um, how do you get clients?
That's I like to say we are really good at keeping clients. We're not so good at getting clients. We've grown relatively fast because we've done everything on reputation and referrals. So the average duration that clients stick with us is very, very long. I think it's over 3 years on average. And that's of course not counting the ones that are still with us. But so far it's all word of mouth. It's we have somebody who's happy with us, they talk with their friend, or their friend has an issue or is complaining about their accountant. Then we get an introduction, and that's typically how we grow so far. So unfortunately, no sexy marketing tactics from my side.
Well, I think it's really tough in today's environment to do sort of cold outreach, um, because there's so much garbage out there. People's email boxes
Yes.
get flooded with garbage every day. And then on top of it, um, when you're using things like LinkedIn and such, I think people get flooded with stupid messages there. So it's really difficult. You have to have some sort of I think a really unique difference and a unique pitch in order to break through the clutter for people to say, "Oh, that's worth having a conversation over," because it's all any kind of outreach, any kind of business, like a service provider it's all about relationships. It's all about, making sure that they know who you are and that type of thing. So, uh,
That's the thing. I think there needs to be a fit or an alignment between what you're selling and the channel. I know there is a fractional CFO firm in the US that is crushing with meta ads, and I just can't wrap my head around how that works because for me, that kind of ad structure is relatively low trust. So that works for low risk products and services. For four bit digit per month fractional CFO services, you want to have somebody who you trust. So I think a higher trust channel like partners, like referrals, works much better uh, because we don't need to add 50 clients a month. We couldn't even handle that. If we add two or three per month, that's a good month and that's stable because they're going to stick around for a long time.
how do you know the guy that's running the meta ads is crushing it just because of what he told you?
I know him from a mastermind through community, so that was a setting where there was not much reason to brag how amazing he's doing. I know he's crushing it on getting clients, but he's also churning a lot of them.
So, um, I'll tell you that the guys that run like meta ads, first of all, you're not getting good quality clients, and that's probably why his churn rate is up. But you're not getting good quality clients because you're getting sort of, these really small people that realize after 2 months that they can't afford the service. But the other thing is, there's so much distrust around those service ads that I don't run ads. I don't run ads on Meta. I don't run ads uh, on Google. We do direct conversational outreach on LinkedIn. It's the only thing that we found works anymore. Doing cold, I mean, these guys that do cold outreach, it's the dumbest thing in the world to me to say, hey, we're going to take these lists of people. We're going to set up 50 URLs and we're just going to blast out, 100 emails per URL per month. Well, even a blind squirrel gets a nut once in a while. So yeah, you're going to get people to react, but it's, then I'm going to sit there and have to weed them out on phone calls. And that's a lot of my time and it's just not worth it. So, we don't, and then, I'll tell you when the switch happened, actually. We were doing outreach for ourselves for years, cold outreach, and we were doing a very good system. And from like 2012 through 2020, and then COVID hit. And after COVID hit, it was like the floodgates opened up. Everybody that was home decided that they were going to do outreach, and the floodgates opened up. And all of a sudden, like mailboxes just got filled, email boxes just got
Yep.
filled. And it was that at that point that it was destroyed. And the other thing that got destroyed, the scammers destroyed SMS texting. So nobody trusts SMS texting anymore. People are outreaching on SMS. I don't know anybody who's using it effectively anymore. The only people that will tell you that it works are the people that are trying to get you to sign up. But anybody who's done it, it lasts a month or two, because then you go, this isn't working, and there's so much distrust out there. And then the meta ads, I mean, God, there's so much garbage out there. Guys that are like, I mean, I look at the ads just because we're on social media so much because of managing other clients. I look at these ads and I think to myself, is anybody buying this crap? I mean, this guy, you sign up for my course, and I'll teach you how to sell on Amazon. And, you're like, if you're good at it, then you'd be selling on there and you'd be making the $1 million that you're telling this guy is going to make. There's a system out there right now. I'm not going to mention the name, but they claim that instead of selling, they'll sell you audience information on who to go after, right? And they put a pixel on your website, and they can pull who those people are, right? Which it's not uncommon technology, and they sell it like an MLM plan, right? You sign up for it, and then you can go out and sell it and white label it and blah 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 blah. And
Jeez.
it's garbage, absolute garbage.
Yes.
And yet people still look at it, and I think, and they ran an ad the other day. Why isn't Daddy a millionaire yet, Mommy? Well, he's not a millionaire because he's still doing things the old way instead of selling data. And I'm like, this is just such a scammy ad. And thankfully, the comments were, "This is a scammy ad. This is disgusting. This is ridiculous. Blah 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 blah." And I thought, this is the kind of ad that should get them shut down. But whatever.
Unfortunately, the barrier to get shut down seems to have gone up quite a bit.
Yeah,
Uh, I've seen, not from our clients, thank God, but I've seen companies that I know run ads that I'm like, I think you guys should get banned for that. But apparently they know exactly how to stay in the light enough gray space. Yeah, it's remarkable. And by the way, you mentioned MLM, it's a garbage. I don't think I've ever seen any MLM business with actually a quality product or a quality service. If you have to resort to MLM, it's kind of like the guarantee that that's crap.
Yeah. And then people go out and sell it and they think they're going to do fine, and it's really, yeah, it's not good. So, I am a big believer that, we can't, you can't go out there and just sort of pitch people with bad ads. The only ads that I see are good are the ones that are creative. And you say to yourself, okay, well, you're a creative agency and you're selling this and you just did a great creative. Okay, I could buy the congruency there. But if you're just a guy and you sit there going, I increase people's email conversion rates by blah, 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 blah. Well, if you're so good at it, why aren't you doing it yourself? If you can build an e-commerce business and teach people how to sell on e-commerce, why don't you do it yourself? Because I did. I took my own money, I did it, and that's how I position it for crunch growth. Like we did it. I know how to do it. I could do it again. We've done it again. We still do it. So
Do understand that one. So if you're if you're good at email, but you're not good at supply chain or not good at product, I understand why you would run an email agency. The ones where it's like, I, especially in the finance space, I've seen them like, I'm going to teach you the trading mechanisms to become whatever multimillionaire. I have the same thought. Why would I pay you $100 if you were apparently allegedly making millions a year? It doesn't make any sense. But in the e-com space, there is such a different skill set between the supply side, the product side. I fully understand you want to be there on one of the verticals. But if I look at how fast our clients are turning over paid ad agencies, apparently most agencies don't know what they're doing.
well, I think there's two. I'll tell you, from my perspective, there's two reasons for that. And one of the reasons we're so picky about who we do business with, because we're not a burn and churn type agency. Like I don't care if I sign up one client every 6 months, makes no difference to me. And the reason is because a lot of brands come to you and they say, we want to go from 1 million to 5 million, 5 million to 10 million, 10 million to 50 million. And we look at it and go, okay, what's the product? And then they'll say, this is what the product is. And I go, okay, why are you different? What makes your product different? Okay. If you come to me and say, I have a pasta sauce, okay, how's that different than the 4,000 pasta sauces that are out there? Now, then you look at the innovators, right? You look at a brand like Truff, where they took hot sauce, probably the lowest barrier to entry business that you've ever seen, because you can make the stuff in your kitchen and bottle it and sell it. So anybody can make hot sauce. But Truff took it and said, we're going to elevate it, number one, put it in a beautiful bottle, and we're going to add truffle to it. And so it's unique. It's not just hot sauce, it's a truffle hot sauce, right? And then they took that and they made truffle pasta sauce, one or two, and they stuck to pretty much keeping the number of SKUs down, but all focused on that one product. You look at Graza olive oil. It's 10,000 olive oils out there. Everybody's confused about olive oil because it's like first growth, first harvest for, all this stuff. Extra virgin, first cold press, blah, blah, blah. So people are confused. Graza takes it and says, okay, we know the market's confused. We're going after the people under 45 who don't know what to buy, because all anybody wants to know is, what's the olive oil I should cook with and what's the olive oil I should put on my salad? So they came out with sizzle and drizzle in a unique bottle. Okay. So their marketing hitch was unique. Okay. That, to me, that you can take and run with. You can do PPC campaigns. You can do UGC campaigns with that. You can do social media campaigns with that. When you say to me, I'm a popcorn company and I want you to grow my business, I say, I'm not interested. Unless you come to me and say, I'm a popcorn company that uses some phenomenal thing that changes it and becomes like this fan, then it's a different story. So most of the time when you say that they churn over PPC agencies, I blame the agency and I blame the brand, because the agency isn't smart enough to say, I don't want to take your business if you don't have a product, a point of difference. And I blame the brand for saying, I don't have a point of difference. So they're both sort of not good. What we do is we look for that point of difference. And if you don't have one, then Phil's puts his coaching hat on and says, look, I've built, X number of businesses on my own. I can help you get to where you need to be. If they take it, then that's great. Then then I can help them get there, and then the business can take over, which we've done successfully. If not, I don't want to do business.
Then it raises the question, because the examples I'm thinking about are e-com companies that they hit between 5 and 10 million run rate. So they must have done something correct, because otherwise you don't hit high seven figures. Could it be possible they have that angle, they just don't know it themselves?
That's possible. And again, that's why I do what I do on the coaching side. But I'll also tell you this. I'll bet you when you start looking at those e-com companies that they're buying customers and they don't realize how little they're making buying those customers. Because I've seen guys go out there on Amazon. I've seen them go out there on, platforms on their own and just go out there and buy customers. They'll spend, $40 to get a $45 sale. Now, granted, they may get that and they may get a percentage of those customers come back and buy a second, third, or fourth time, but eventually that catches up with you. So I've seen a lot of businesses that are between 5 and 10, 15 million, even 20 million that stall because at that point they realize they don't really have anything to get them to the next level.
It's interesting that you mentioned those kind of metrics, because that's one of the things we typically point at. And if what you're describing is an ACoS of like 80, 90%, that's absolutely insane. My rule of thumb is you have to be cash flow positive, ideally on the first purchase, but definitely within the first 30 days. If it's more than 30 days before you're cash flow positive on a customer, it's very tricky. Or the harder you scale, the bigger the problem you're going to get.
Well, I'll tell you, there's a shaving company out there called Harry's Razors. And every year they do this thing right around the fourth quarter where they sell a shaver, a razor, 2 cartridges, and a small thing of shave cream in a little box for $5. Big brand, $5. Okay. And they sell the crap out of it because it's so low risk that everybody takes advantage of it. Now, I know from looking at it and the cost of shipping and the cost of the product and all that stuff that it probably cost them $15, right? Now, the cost of acquisition of a new customer in that channel, in the shaving channel, is probably between $40 and $60. So they're out there acquiring customers for $12 to $15. Now, customer goes, they take advantage of this $5 thing. They get to the website, but they're exposed to all this other product. So the average sale on this $5 package is over $60. Then their long-term value on that $5 customer is somewhere in the $250 to $300. So the reason they do it is because it's so low, such extreme value that nobody could pass it up. And then once they get you, they're going to get you to spend more. So it pays in the long run. In the short term, losing money on each package, but in the long term, absolutely works. So I'm not opposed to that type of thing, but they have a very good positioning. It's a high quality shave. They've got great products, all that stuff. So
on the finance side, I hope that they have enough scale and enough working capital, because if they have enough data, historic data, that this method works, and you want to fund that customer for the next 6 months before you are cash flow positive, have the financing ready. Because I've seen companies implode because they grew so fast, they ran out of cash because they were financing every customer for a couple of months, and the bank account was empty. Their sales were through the roof, and they actually imploded because they grew too fast and they didn't have the time to hit that break-even point. These guys that you described sounds like they're a bigger brand, more data, access to funding, external. Sure, that's a deliberate play based on data. Amazing. I think for the ones that are in the 7-figure space, low 8 figures, if they have the buffers, great, but I would say that's quite high risk.
Yeah, it's absolutely high risk, but it's they've been doing it since the beginning when they started, and yeah, they raised a ton of money. But the beauty of it is that they get you to the site with that $5 purchase. People make the purchase, but that's not the only purchase they make. And so, they're acquiring you for that $5, right? Which is probably costing them 15. Okay. So they're in for 20. And then, but if you buy two, three, four things, then you're cash flow positive. So that's the beauty of it, is they figured out that funnel to use that $5 to get you to the site, and people take advantage of it. And it's great. It's been great for them. I thought it was smart. They're very creative. They do a great job with their imagery and making it look really high quality. And it is really high quality for that price that you just can't turn it down. So their conversion rate on ads is astronomical.
Yes.
It's astronomical. But I wouldn't
I'm a,
recommend it for everybody unless you have a really good funnel and you have a really good product that you can sell them in 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, $100 worth of product or $200. You know, if you're just out there, with a $5 product, it's not going to work.
I don't. No, not at all. Um, but that kind of offer at that kind of price point on the consumer side, and maybe I'm a bit brainwashed by seeing so many companies from the inside. I would wonder, what's the catch? How shit is the quality, or what funnel do I get into, or what's the catch behind it? Because the offer is too good to be true.
Right. So, and that, sure. And then people go and search Harry's razors and they see it online and they go, man, this is a great product. It's just to get you in, and they reel you in with it. Extreme value. They've been doing it for 14 years, 14 years. And they're, I think they're pretty close to $1 billion in sales. And they started out as a startup. So, I mean, they've got great metrics. So, you know, but again, they've got a very unique positioning. They've got a very unique story. I think, if, you have to be unique in this world.
Yes. And maybe, again, I'm biased here. You have to know your LTV. You have to know your
Absolutely.
acquisition cost.
Absolutely.
Because you can, if you know your numbers, you can pull this off. But if you're just speculating on your LTV, that's risky.
Well, that's what it comes down to, is your cost of acquisition versus your LTV. Those two numbers are some of the most important ones, but there's a ton of people that don't know it. A ton of people just going out there getting transactions. Get me as many transactions as possible. We have a client now that the CEO said to me, I don't care about profit. I just care about transactions. Get me as many sales as possible. And I keep saying to him, dude, you are losing money on every transaction and you have no long-term value. This is a losing proposition. I don't know why you want to do it. This is bad. It's bad. It's bad. I don't care. I want to do it. He's got his reasons, I mean, we did it. That's the direction. I don't feel good about it. Didn't feel good about it. Tried to sway him in a different direction. We tried to, say, look, this is what you need to do. Doesn't want to hear about it. It's a unique product, and what can you do? Some
Just
people make
corner the
bad
market
decisions.
and deal with profitability later.
Yeah. Well, that's what it comes down to, because eventually he's going
If
to
his
run out of
pockets are
money.
deep enough, it might work.
Yeah. No, he's going to have to raise, he's going to need about 20, 25 million in another 6 or 8 months in order to continue to do it. But, we told him, put it in writing, sent it to him, got plenty of emails. Don't come back to me and say, I didn't warn you. I warned you a bunch of times.
Yeah, but it comes back to the question, you need to understand what you're optimizing for. This guy is clearly optimizing for revenue growth over everything.
Over everything.
And there are cases where, if it's a winner-take-all market, or where you want to be the number one player that is the default, that might make a lot of sense. And apparently you're going to burn through 10, 20, $30 million then. That might be worth it. But for most bootstrapped guys, that's a disaster in the making.
Yep, absolutely. All right, man. So we're pretty much out of time. Any closing things? I know, your whole focus is on people understanding their numbers. So any closing statements?
Shit, time flies. So most important thing is indeed know where you want to go to. Second of all is make sure your numbers are reliable. We've seen too many people's too many people get into problems because their numbers were unreliable and they make wrong decisions because their numbers were wrong. So make sure you check those and that you're 100% confident in the accuracy there.
Yeah. And where can people find you?
Easiest place is LinkedIn. That's where I'm most active. Or alternatively, connectrob.com.
And what about your website for your business?
Financeinsightmatters.com.
Okay. There you go. So thanks for everybody for joining in, and we will see you guys next time.